talked about coming back, and when you retired versus now when you're back, you mentioned kind of two different lives. What conversations did you have with your family, with yourself, about returning to fighting?
My return to fighting was based on the fact that I felt like I left the sport because I was the candle that was burning at both ends and the middle. And I had just burnt out. It had nothing to do with my love for the sport. It's just that I hadn't treated myself well. I had been taking, my daughter would call it a bucket dipper. When you take from the bucket instead of a bucket filler. She's 5, by the way. So sometimes she'll tell me, Mom, you're being a bucket dipper. You're hurting my feelings. I'm like, I'm sorry, and I have to own up to that, But I was being a bucket dipper to myself, and I was allowing everybody else to be a bucket dipper, if you will. So I just didn't have anything left. That's really what it boiled down to. And once I restored myself as a human being, I think I realized that my love for the sport hadn't changed. It was just the fact that I needed to do some real deep emotional and mental healing. That the fortune and adversity only lasts for so long. You can only burn the fuel that you have for so long until you run out, and I knew that I had more to give, and I knew that I still had a love for the sport. And I thought, man, maybe if I can approach this with a healthier attitude, maybe if I can be more effort-based praise in myself than outcome-based, maybe I could do really great things. Let me see what I can do with this different mentality and a different approach. And it took a lot of soul searching.
What are your kids' reactions to you fighting? Like, I see you posted on YouTube, like, showing them your injuries. Like, were there any fears of returning and having them see you fight?
Yes, I was not sure at all how they were going to handle post-fight injuries, because I just, for whatever reason, I have a face that likes to wear damage. So I get hit and it's like I swell up, or a bloody nose is very common. So I was worried that they were going to react very adversely to Mom coming home with bruises and blood and potentially cuts and whatnot. So fortunately, in my first fight, it was a pretty clean fight. I didn't get injured. I won in pretty dominant fashion. But in my second fight, I came back and already was fighting a top 5 ranked female in our division. So it was a quick track. And I lost a close decision, but I got a laceration in that fight under my eye. And so I had 5 stitches, I think it was, and bruising, around my face and my eye. And because it was a 5-round fight too. So, the just the repeated impact of jabs, it wasn't like I got one shot that really hurt me. It was just, fighting for 5 rounds, and you get a laceration and you keep hitting it. Basically you're going to look pretty terrible the next morning. So, but mind you, my kids were pretty small still. So my first fight back, my son was only 1. Mm-hmm. And my second fight back wasn't long after that. So he was, 1.5 or 2. But they actually responded way better than most adults.
Huh?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's wild.
They just they wanted to know what and why. My son was a little too young, I think, to really take it in. But my daughter, at about 3.5, she had questions. Mm-hmm. Mommy, what happened to you? Does it hurt? Are you okay? And just walking her through those things and remembering that how I react to it is also going to kind of feed her whether she feels secure about this or she doesn't. So what we did is she became Dr. Maya. She helped, she helped change my bandages. She would help me put the like Vaseline or Neosporin on the cut, like put the bandage back on. So it just became a part of the healing process and like letting her know like, I'm okay. And this is what I choose to do, honey. This is fun for me. I like it. It's like playing, and she was good with it.
Do they understand, kind of like you in the beginning, not really knowing that fighting could be competition? Do they understand the difference between you fighting for competition versus just, the other form, which is aggressive
Yeah.
tendencies.
I do try to explain that to them, whether it's sunk in yet or not, I don't know. Now my kids are 3 and 5, so it's always changing, and so rapidly at those ages, their evolution and of understanding, I do explain to them that, this is a sport and we like it, and the other person is willing, that they want to do this also. That's a big difference too. I think a lot of times fights on the streets are, not always by choice, right? It's like you have to defend yourself. So, but I'm also explaining them too that sometimes the sacrifices we have to make as a family so that mommy can train. Yeah, you've got to come to the gym with me. Mommy, do you want mommy to win her fight? Yeah, because that's what my daughter said to me last time too. And, I have to remember for my kids not to take what they say personally at all, because it's just genuine, unfiltered thoughts. That adults have those same thoughts. It's just that we learn maybe we shouldn't say that to someone because it might hurt their feelings. Kids don't have that. They just say it, So my daughter was like, Mommy, I really wanted you to win. Why didn't you win? I know, it's like, dang, yeah, I really wanted to win too, honey, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. But also another great opportunity to share with her that, hey, I'm okay. Like, just because I didn't win doesn't mean that I changed my value of who I am. I used to do that, and it used to be terrible. I mean, the consequences of not winning were awful for me. And now it's just like, look, I tried my best, and I didn't get this one. It's okay. Let's go enjoy some family time, some pizza and beer.
That's right. Comes back to the good tasting beer.
You know
beer
what I mean?
tastes good, win or lose
That's
now.
right. Yeah,
Seems
that's what it is. It's just like, because if I'm putting everything that I have into it, then what do I have to be ashamed of?
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not no longer tied to victory or a loss. Like I'm just going to give everything that I have, and what will be, which also takes a ton of pressure off the shoulders. You know what I mean? Like I can live the rest of my life as a normal human, and I couldn't do that before.
Peacefully now.
Yeah, peacefully. I can balance my life as a parent and as a significant other and as a person. Because think about this for a second. Athletes, a lot of times, we develop skill sets that are not healthy for living a human life.
Yeah.
Right? Like we make so many sacrifices. We miss weddings, we miss funerals, we miss Christmases. We do all these things that I think we feel like we have to deprive ourselves of. And we forget how to live life. Right? Sometimes
I get that. Yeah.
Sometimes we forget how to live life because we're so hyper focused on the one thing. But the thing is, that one thing doesn't last a lifetime. So we got to suddenly learn late in life a skill set that we never really developed, and that's how to enjoy life outside of competition. So that's what I've been really working on in the balance of my life, is how to do both and enjoy both and not be so tied to the outcome. It's like I'm just going to put my very best into it, and eventually this door is going to close. The chapter is going to be done. There will be no more fighting. And so what have I done to set myself up for success in my future? Business-wise and also with my family and my kids.
It's like you're relearning to be human.
Exactly. And how surprising, but I think a lot of athletes have to do that. And sometimes it's, not to get too dark or not, but it can be very slippery slope for a lot of athletes that don't transition well. They don't have anything else that they feel like is as important or wakes them up or makes them feel as alive as they do in that very moment of dangerous competition.
I don't feel like that's talked about very much either.
It's not talked about very much. And I think it should be talked about more, because athletes have a lot of trouble transitioning, and there always is a transition because sports don't favor people aging. It's always, the young. And even if you're still competitive, let's take Kevin Harvick, for example, this year is his last year, and he's been very competitive, so close to winning a few races or whatnot. But, he's not the topic of conversation as far as like who's the young up-and-comer that we want to keep our eyes on, So even that shift can be difficult for athletes, because we remember being that one that was like the protege or the one that could come in and maybe make that difference, and then it changes. And we have to learn to also deal with that as well. But then it closes and it's done and it's very final. And all of a sudden it's like, who am I?
Yeah.
What am I? I don't really know how to be a person, because all I've known and all I've done and focused on was like this part of my life. And now that's completely gone. So I guess as I'm finishing up this chapter of my fighting career, I'm also looking at it as like, where can I have mental and emotional flexibility? Can I be outcome-based? Instead of being outcome-based, can I be effort-based?
Yeah.
Like, why can't I have that? Why not?
No reason why you can't.
Yeah, it's a decision I'm making in my head. And it goes back to, again, like the dieting stuff. You know, that's another pain in the ass that we have to deal with. Is like making weight and dieting. It's like not a very fun perspective of our sport, but it is a necessary evil to make sure that things are fair. And, you know, I'm not saying no, I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes to my bigger goals. You know, I'm not depriving.
It seems like you found that peace. So what's next for you? I know, do you have a fight coming up?
I do, December 2nd.
All right. That's coming up.
It is. Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel like this is the most balanced I've ever been in my life. And I feel like this is going to be a big moment in my career for me personally. You know, it's not a world title fight. It's, you know, to some people might not seem like that big of a deal, but for me, this is a defining moment. You know, which way I'm going to go for the rest of my career. I feel like if I win this fight, and I use the word if, a lot of people have a problem with that. Oh, it should be when, right? When you win. I think when doesn't allow flexibility. It's very final, because when is not always the case. Sometimes it's when I win and then I don't win. What do you do then? Like, oh, I put all my eggs in one basket and it's come crashing down and they're all smashed to smithereens and I don't know how to put them back together. You know, how are we going to put Humpty Dumpty back together? But I think if also motivates me in the sense that it's not for sure. I have to work hard and I have to want it and I have to go for it. So, you know, if I win, that gives me flexibility. And also, what does that mean if I don't win? How am I going to handle it? Yeah. What am I going to do? What's the other side of the coin? Because whether we want to look at it or not, the other side of the coin can be a dark side, or it can just be a side that we're looking at both sides of the coin, that there is two sides. We're acknowledging that there is two sides, right? And so for me, I like the word if. It motivates me in the gym. It's not final. It's not already decided. Like, it's up to me to write the story, and I'm going to go in and do everything that I can. And if I don't win, it's still going to be okay. I'm still going to wake up tomorrow morning and be Miesha Tate.